Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us to stay curious with a special friend, astronaut Don Thomas, sitting next to me. Hello, Don.
Hi, I'm excited to be with you here today.
Well, we're glad that you're here. Don is a very frequent person on the Space Coast. You do a lot of outreach with corporations, and what else do you
I
do?
do, working with the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center there. I come down today. I was doing fly with, take a group of people, and we go through the simulator, the shuttle launch experience, and do a bus tour. I also do private tours for the Visitor Center, corporate dinners, and lunchtime talks. So I love coming down here. I tell people this is where I left Earth 4 times,
Yes.
and more importantly, where I came back to Earth. And I
Yeah.
think every astronaut really loves coming here. They have a strong emotional attachment to the Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, you train most of the time in Johnson Space Center, but then every astronaut tells me when you come here, that it's ramped up.
It's
The,
ramped up. It's real.
yeah, it's real. And
On 3 days before launch or so, we fly here from the Johnson Space Center in the T-38s. And if the weather is good, they let us do a pad flyby. So we drop down to about 1,000 feet. We can do a circle or two around the launch pad, and then we come landing at the shuttle landing facility there. And to look out the window of your T-38, and down there 1,000 feet below you, there's your space shuttle, ready to go. It's just waiting for the astronauts. And here we are flying in. When I would see that view, I could just feel the butterflies. It became very real. Like, this isn't training. We're really coming into launch. And it was an exciting moment.
Huh. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about Don. We weren't expecting him. We were expecting him to come to museums for some business with our auctioneer Chuck Jeffrey, and you always participate in our auctions. You're a big
I do. I try to
collector
support. Yep.
and support our museum that way. So we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of his missions, talk to him. But it's Valentine's Day, and of course, I got you a Valentine. All right, out there.
How
And,
great is that with an astronaut on board? Huh?
That's right, with an astronaut on board. And I got some good Ghirardelli's chocolates we can eat later. And Marty Winkle, my co-producer, Grumman Lunar Module Engineer and Shuttle SLS Manager, is on our Streamlabs board over there. And we've got the one and only Terry White's in the studio here. Terry and Marty, how y'all doing over there? Great to see Don Thomas pop in just like a regular Joe, and just the respect you have for the museum and how you share everywhere you go is just amazing, Don.
Yeah, thanks. I have a passion, just like all of us
Yeah,
here,
we do. We
for,
do.
for
We're
space
gonna share that
history and
passion
what we're
there.
currently doing.
So thanks for efforting this, Marty and everybody today. I'm going to throw up there your missions. I guess we can make that big and
Get my head out of the way.
get your head out of
There
the
we
way
go.
there. There's Don, 44 days in space. Okay. Born in Cleveland, Ohio. He's one of 20. How many are we up to? I was born in Findlay, Ohio. So he's a brother Buckeye. 24,
I
25.
think 25, and then Kevin Kriegel was an honorary Ohioan
Yeah,
from the governor of Ohio. So if you include him, I think it's 26.
in there. So there you are when your hair was jet black, and there you are when it's not.
Yeah, the picture on the left, that's from STS-83, roughly 28 years ago. So
And,
this is what spaceflight does to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wrinkles, gray hair.
And the food. Okay, Don's got a great story. If you ever see him in the astronaut encounter out there at Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex, and but one thing I always tell people about you, Don, is if I opened up a restaurant with delicious astronaut food like that well celebrated shrimp cocktail or maybe a beef bourguignon or something, astronaut food, would you be coming to my restaurant?
Not at all. I tell people I would never go to a restaurant that was serving space food. It's okay, but I would never use the word delicious to describe it. Some of the astronauts, really enjoy it, but it's like, it was just okay with me. We had a special dinner at our house in Houston, and I invited our neighbors over, and I got a bunch of space food that they could all try, and they were so excited. Yeah, we got space food, and we had freeze-dried green beans and all other great delicacies. And they started tasting it, and it was like, wow, this is terrible. And I had hot dogs and hamburgers on the grill, and that's what everybody ate. So space food's okay.
So the
don't
Marquette
complain about
Space Bistro wouldn't fly too good with you there.
I wouldn't
so.
be there.
Well, guys, I'm gonna talk to some of our wonderful fans watching today. Carlton Bailey's one. He photographed all four of your missions, I think. CB, you may have seen him autograph some of your things
Yep.
on there. Mark Thales watching up in Chicago, Illinois. Dave Stange wishing us a happy Valentine's Day, and he's up in Michigan, Macomb, Michigan. And let's see, Tom Celentano. He says, "Wow, great guest. I met Don a few times, saw him leave the earth on 70 and 83." Tom Celentano lives up in Hartford, Connecticut area, I
Well,
believe.
greetings to everybody.
Dave Stange, thanks for our surprise guest, and Tommy Usiak. Good afternoon, everyone, and hello to Don. Remember, if you remember the Usiak brothers, Tom and Mark.
Yeah.
And Tom will be at Shuttle Fest.
Great. Look forward
And
to
of
seeing
course,
you.
Don's going to be at Shuttle Fest, and we were talking about that. Dean Babcock, hello, everyone. Hi, Mr. Thomas. I enjoyed your book, Orbit of Discovery. Very good. And hello, all from Doug Forrest in Los Angeles. William Whiting says hi. And Elena Adkaria from South Africa says hello to us here. So we'll probably have Cliff Watson waking up in Pomona, Australia, hungover from Friday night because it's Saturday brekkie there. But and he's been in here. So if you've got a question for Don, we're not going to have too long of a show today. He's got to talk to Chuck about some business, but is there something that you've always wanted to share that nobody ever asks you?
You know, something that I've been sharing recently, I don't get asked about it a lot, was flying pizza in space. I flew the first pizza.
You did?
If you ask most people,
Pepperoni, mushroom?
pepperoni.
Okay.
If you ask most people who flew the first pizza in space, they'll say Pizza Hut. And because they flew a pizza up to the International Space Station with the Russians
Yeah.
back in 2005 or something like that. But on STS 83 and 94, you know, we're allowed to carry a sandwich with us out to the launch pad. And
Oh, you are?
in case we're laying on our back for 3 hours or more, if there's weather delays, they let us take a sandwich if we want one. So on my earlier missions, I had a turkey sandwich, and I thought, oh, I'd like to get a slice of pizza. And I just asked NASA, can you make me a slice of pizza? And they said, yeah, we can do that. They made me a little personal pepperoni pizza that I had out there. I didn't eat it on the launch pad. I waited till I got to space. So the very first pizza taken to space was aboard STS-83, Space Shuttle Columbia, launched April 4th, 1997.
Wow.
And it was pepperoni. If there's a bonus question for trivia night, and people ask if it was good.
Who took the first? Well, Marty does have a trivia question that we've incorporated in our show. We've done over 1,200 episodes, but he's writing that one down for sure, right, Marty? Yeah, good. Exactly. You know, we love talking about the shuttle artwork, okay? And you're familiar with this book. You've autographed, I'm sure, a few in there. And you're 65 there. Of course, your commander, Bob Cabana, has moved back on the Space Coast. Have you seen Bob since he moved back?
I did. I just bumped into him 2 weeks ago at the Causeway Diner. Is that the name of the place?
Yeah.
I went
Good
in there.
place to eat.
It was a great place.
Yeah.
Really fantastic. And he was having lunch there, so I interrupted him and just said, hey, Bob, how you doing? I hadn't seen him in, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years or so. So good to see him back here.
And that's the first time you've seen your commander up there. That's kind of cool.
Right.
In there. Yeah, he's enjoying retirement, as I'm sure he told you, but he's popped up at all the memorial things around town. He just turned 75.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And
Really
the other week, we celebrate your birthdays on our show here and on Facebook. That's
great.
important. That's important to us, right, Marty? Because I say over and over, people like Don Thomas are not just an astronaut; they are representative of one of the greatest periods of America space age.
The golden era of
building the
space
shuttle. You know, we've done, and these workers like Terry and Marty worked on the Apollo lunar module, have done stuff no other country's done. Go to the moon. No one's done that in like 52 years, and build this fabulous space station that we've shared with the world. We didn't have to do that.
Right.
Up there. They couldn't have done it without the shuttle.
That's right.
So
when I go see Space Shuttle Atlantis here at the Kennedy Space Center, it's still brings a tear to my eye, or I'll get goosebumps when I see it over there. It was a remarkable program.
Were you at the first reveal of it?
No,
Oh
no.
my God! But you've seen. I mean, I get
The
goosebumps
first time I
every
saw
time
it, yeah, and
that you see that. And to the ship that
sometimes
led
little
the way,
tears.
time and time again.
Yeah,
Welcome home, Atlantis. And
Yep.
then you're like, the scrim goes up, and you're going, that's it. Oh my God, you're kidding me. I thought it was
people
part of-
jumping up and down.
Oh yeah, so I got goosebumps
Yeah.
thinking about that.
When they had the unveiling, 49 astronauts came back for the unveiling.
Did they?
Yeah, and they wanted me to stand out in front of the orbiter because that's where they were used to seeing me, working on the orbiter. When
Yeah.
that screen went up, almost every one of them started crying.
Yep, it's really powerful.
It wouldn't be as emotional if they didn't say welcome home, Atlantis.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be so emotional.
No, it's just so well done. It's one of the best
Yeah,
things
coming
there.
from Carlton.
Carlton's the photographer that gave you the shuttle pad with Comet Hale-Bopp overhead
Okay,
night before the launch.
Yep.
And he may have had a pizza themed T-shirt with a cat maybe flying on the pizza with a radar.
with a cat on there.
Yeah, yeah. Carlton has these thematic shirts that,
Okay.
that are
I haven't seen
just,
that one.
They're beyond a yeah. You'll know him when you see him. But we love talking about. Sometimes we're told that the commander kind of makes it a first thing that you do is choose your patch in artwork, and it's kind of like a human nature thing of interaction of teammates on that. So you actually designed 3 patches there. How much were the crews involved on those? And
Every mission it's a little different, and every crew is different. Sometimes people have really strong opinions of what they like and don't like. Other times people say, I don't care, just get my name spelled right. Susan Still on STS 83 and 94, her number one input that I remember was, I just don't like the color orange.
oh, is that
I don't
right?
care what's on there, just don't have anything
Okay.
orange on there.
All
And
right.
we were doing combustion experiments, looking at how fires burn. So at the center of those patches, you see like a starburst pattern. That's for our combustion experiments. And STS 70, Kevin Kriegel was a rookie on that flight, and he started the design of it. Nancy Curry had input. She was an alumna from Ohio State. And
Okay.
said, let's make that like a Block O design, the shape of the STS
Oh, really?
70.
No way. Is
You
that
didn't-
what that
you
is?
didn't know that?
It's
STS 70? No. If I
70,
did,
we had 4 of the 5 astronauts from the state
right.
of Ohio.
I did know that.
I
but-
made wrote to the governor of Ohio, and he made Kevin Kriegel an honorary Ohioan. So we said we had the all Ohio shuttle flight, and it's designed as a Block O. Originally, the outer Block O was, scarlet,
it doesn't mention that.
but it was that wasn't subtle enough. And Tom
Depicts-
Hendricks said no way would NASA management approve that patch. So we snuck it in like this. And once headquarters in Washington approved the patch, then we said that's for Ohio.
TDR, tracking data relay satellites depicted by 3 gold stars there. They represent the triad composed of spacecraft transmitting data through it. The stylized red, white, blue ribbon represents America's goal of linking exploration to the advancement of humankind. And I never put.
No mention of the Block O in
No,
there.
no
yeah,
mention
of
of
course.
the
It's
Buckeye
a
there.
secret.
We
And,
knew it because I'm from Ohio too. So
Yeah.
Also flew with Mary Weber on that flight.
Yep, Mary
there.
Ellen
and,
Weber.
Terry Hendricks was the.
Tom Hendricks from
Tom-
Woodville,
Tom,
the
yeah, from
Toledo
Woodville.
area.
Yeah, there's a, I think there's a big barn billboard or something to him there. Gary Gerald says hi. He's our Vidalia onion farmer
Okay.
in Collins, Georgia. And I can't
Hey,
wait to get
Gary.
another crate of those there, Gary. They are delicious there. And Tom Santano said the music at the Atlantis display gets me emotional.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I agree.
It's in there.
Hey, one
Uh,
other story about Kevin Kriegel, if I can tell.
Yeah,
that.
sure.
We had the All Ohio shuttle crew, courtesy of
And that's what your book's about.
the governor
Plug
of
your book.
Ohio. The mayor of Amityville, New York, where Kevin Kriegel lived, he made us all honorary Amityvillians. So they also claim to have the all Amityville space shuttle mission, just not to compete with the All Ohio,
That's
but
cool.
it's we had a lot of fun during
Well,
that
keeping
time.
on the STS 70 theme is look at what I got here. Okay,
It's a northern flicker woodpecker.
and why would I have that in my hand, Terry White and Don Thomas?
1 week before STS-70, before we were supposed to launch, one of these woodpeckers attacked the external tank and drilled 205 holes in the orange foam insulation of the tank. And it delayed our mission 1 month. So I have no ill will against woodpeckers. I have woodpecker feeders at my home up in Baltimore. We get some of the northern flickers and a host of other woodpeckers that come by. So I have a soft spot for woodpeckers. We became known as the Woodpecker Mission.
Yeah.
Not only the All Ohio crew, but the Woodpecker crew as well.
But we celebrated. We've had Terry talking about the owl, inflatable owls they had to get rid of it, and
Yep.
the horns,
Predator eye
and everything,
balloons
and,
with the eyes of hawks or
But
eagles.
the thing that worked the best was we actually had people that sat there with air horns.
Air horns and water cannons.
To keep them away. And so we used a lot of admins to do that because, you know, the techs had other
Yeah.
things to do. So we brought people out there all through the daytime to keep them away.
I was out at pad 39B before they launched Artemis 1. And that's where we had the woodpecker attack on STS-70. And I was talking to one of the workers there outside the gate and said I was on the woodpecker flight. And he says, yeah. He said, do you know we still put those beach ball balloons with the eyes of the hawk and the eagle on them? And they put the plastic owls. They still do that. They did that through the end of the shuttle program. And even with Artemis, there's a step in the, I don't know, the procedures for getting ready for launch. There's a step in there that says, you know, deploy the balloons
Oh, really?
and put out the owls. So they're still concerned about it today, but it's never happened again, only
And they're-
once.
And they're also concerned that the birds will attempt to nest out at the pad. And then since it's a wildlife refuge, then you've got to go through that scenario.
Right.
So by putting those from the vehicles out there, it keeps the birds from nesting
Yep.
too.
So that's the legacy.
Northern Flicker. This is courtesy of Dean Schaff, who's president of the Veterans Center on Merritt Island, but he was the ground office manager or ground ops manager, the GOM, for the TAL site. And I love saying TAL site is Transoceanic Abort Landing Site
Right.
over there in Banjul and Morocco.
Zaragoza, they had a bunch of landing
Zaragoza,
sites.
Spain and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And he gave this at a meeting, not knowing you were going to be here. He said, you know, if you see Don Thomas when he comes, he usually come here a couple times a year. Have him that. So that worked
Tell him
out
I loved
great.
it. That's great.
I will. And I've seen you in a woodpecker T-shirt or woodpecker shirt, and
I have a special woodpecker shirt made by Jean Wright,
oh, that's right.
one of the
Gee,
Sow
the
sisters.
Sow sisters on
So-
there. So Marty's got a question on that UCAC family microphone.
Yeah, Tom Usack is asking, Don, did you get another pizza when you flew 83 on 94? When you reflew 83 on 94?
Yeah, I had that on 83 and then another pizza on STS 94. So 2 pizzas flew with me on the Space Shuttle.
Now, Don, you very fortunate, I think fortunate, whatever's the word. You had 4 flights in 3.5 short years. It looks like there.
Right.
4 years in there, man. And some
Jim-
people wait 10 years, 8, 9 years between flights. You know.
Yeah, so I'd like to say, well, it's because I'm a superstar, right? I mean, why else would they fly you like that?
Right,
But
right.
that's not
You're
true.
so good up
Yeah,
there
it's
doing
just
what you did.
A little bit of luck.
Uh-huh.
You know, I landed on my first flight, you know, with Bob Cabanas, commander, and I was on the ground for about a week, and I got a message from our secretary, the chief astronaut wants to see me. And it's like, well, what did I just screw up? It's like going to the principal's office. I thought, what did I mess up? Why are they calling me down there? And I get down there, they close the door, and they said, Don, just want to let you know we assigned you to your second flight, you know, STS-70, and I was all excited about it. I went home that night and told my wife, I said, hey, I just got assigned to STS-70. And she just shook her head and said, can't NASA give us a break? Because it's just training, really busy. And here 1 week after I landed from my first flight, I got assigned to my second one. So on one hand, you would like to have them spread out
Mhm.
because then you have time to reflect on what you're doing and put it in perspective. I was just training and flying, and it wasn't until after my last flight that you can kind of stop, take a look at where you've been, and then you can really put it in perspective like, wow, that was amazing. But I was too busy during the training period to even think about that.
Don, tell everybody, we're talking with Don Thomas here, fabulous astronaut.
Fabulous.
Fabulous, because he's a Buckeye from the great state of Ohio there, Dave Stange and Chris Calley. Now you got me off track there. I was thinking, oh, what was your mission specialist? What you as a mission specialist? What was your specialty?
So
What did
three-
you do?
Three of my
basically?
4 missions were science missions. They were space lab missions. We had a science module in the back of the payload bay, similar to our science modules up on the space station today. So I would be one of the crew members operating the experiments up there,
Mhm.
looking at how fires burn, how liquids behave. We grew plants, had small animals, small goldfish, guppies.
So, were you like that as a kid in
I
Ohio? Were you out there?
I always liked science and, would go out catching tadpoles and, I really like science and got my PhD in engineering. So that's why, I had done research before working with scientists. And so I got assigned to 3 of the 4 missions were the space labs. They were great missions.
Let's another question, Marty.
Yeah, Don, Carlton Bailey is asking, as a pizza can't say it, aficionado, have you tried Zorellas? If not, we should organize a pizza night. And I'll add to that, if so, we ought to organize a pizza night.
Yeah, I
Either
think
way.
we just need to organize a pizza night no matter what.
Yeah.
But I've been there, just one time, but I need to go back.
Yeah, that's good. That's kind of become the hangout for the space hipsters community of
Yeah.
Facebook and others like that. And we love John Zarella
Sure.
and his son Mike does a great job there.
And it's really good food.
And it is good. It is good food.
Great pizza.
And we know that Shuttle Fest coming around. We're going to have to budget some time. Someone's going to have to go there. Shuttle Fest. I got that there to show here in a minute. We got Bob Myran, new to our family here on Stay Curious, saying hello today. And Michael Bruno has a question for you, Don. What was the most surprising experiment result you saw from your mission work?
Unfortunately, when we land in the shuttle here, we walk away. We go back to Houston. The astronauts go back to Houston, and they turn over the data, everything to the scientists. So they're doing the data analysis, and sometimes the results, most of the time, like I don't know what the results were. They have to analyze all that. But some of the most interesting experiments for me, we had one with baby jellyfish. And jellyfish, everybody's seen them, they kind of squirt as they go through the water. Baby jellyfish will squirt to the top of their tank. They open their mouth, and with their mouth wide open in gravity, they fall and they feed. So here on Earth, they squirt to the top, open their mouth, and feed. Squirt to the top, open their mouth, and feed. In space, they would squirt to the top, open their mouth, and nothing would happen. Without gravity, they're not falling. They have their mouth open, but no food is coming in. And they had to learn new swimming behaviors just to eat in space. And for me, watching another small living being, like a baby jellyfish, watching them adapt to zero gravity, it was just fascinating. Even jellyfish,
But
us
they adapted.
astronauts, they adapted. Yeah, they
Uh-huh.
learned to eat up there. They had to, or perish.
A lot of we don't expect that everybody knows a lot about the space shuttle. That's why we're here to learn about it and the fabulous 30-year era. So some of you might be a little bit puzzled by why do we have a red and a blue same mission type of patch there. Let me go back here. We'll look at those Valentines here. There, that's your head split there. So
Okay.
explain STS 83 and 94 launched in April.
April
first
4th,
one?
1997, we launched STS-83, Space Shuttle Columbia, and it was a science mission, a microgravity science laboratory, MSL. And it was supposed to be a 16-day flight. We launched at the end of the first day. Mission Control called us up and said, hey, we see some problems with your fuel cell. And they said, we want you to shut one of them down. They thought it could potentially catch fire or explode. So we shut one of them down, and not a big deal. We still had 2 good ones that are operating. And then the next morning when we woke up, they said, hey, we're not sure if the other 2 don't have the same problem. So they decided, we're going to bring you home. I was really surprised by that. Mission Control in Houston, I've worked as a Capcom in there. They can solve any problem. And they just didn't have enough data to prove that this was safe to continue flying. So they made the decision, we're going to bring you home. It wasn't a emergency, hurry up, we're going to land in the next hour. We did an orderly shutdown, packing up of the shuttle. So we ended up landing on day 4. And it was a sad thing for the crew. We had trained 2 years to fly this mission, and we hadn't accomplished what we set out to do. But even before we landed, we were getting hints that NASA might refly us again. So when we landed, it was a day or two later, we got official word, hey, we're going to fly the whole crew, same shuttle, same everything, and we're going to call it STS-94. They had an extra number. Originally, they thought maybe STS-83R, like,
The
reflight
reflights were
of it.
after Columbia.
But they had
Challenger, yeah.
one number, STS-94. Nothing, no payload was assigned to that.
Oh, is that why? Okay.
So they gave us the that number for it, and then they said they didn't want us to go through the whole patch, a whole new design. They said change one color and give you the distinction between them. So we changed the number from 83 at the bottom of the patch to 94, and that outer rim from red to blue.
It's fun to flip back and forth. I like doing that. It's like a psychedelic thing, going back and forth sometimes with the colors there.
And
The only time-
because we didn't have to remove the payload, we're flying the same payload in that. Our turnaround time in the orbiter processing facility was one of the shortest in the history of the
It was
shuttle
88 days between the landing and the launch, which
Yes.
used to be a record. I don't know if it still is or not.
Yeah.
But to take the whole crew, everything, 88 days from landing to launch again was an incredible
Landed on
effort
April
from you
8th,
guys.
and then was launched July 1st. And in between that was Atlantis, the sixth mirror docking, STS-84 there with the Charlie Precourt and Eileen Collins on there. The only time the complete crew's been sent up twice. That was
Intact,
Commander
yeah.
Jim Halsell, Susan Kilran. She went by Susan Still back then, but and Janice Voss, and of course you, Michael Gernhardt, Roger Crouch, and Gregory Lintras.
Yep.
And we've had Roger Crouch on the show here.
Yeah.
Met his wife giving a quilt of valor to Winston Scott
Okay.
a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Very delightful man. We
Yeah.
enjoyed Roger a lot.
He's a
Just-
character.
Yeah, he is a character. He seems like a lot of fun. And he was just out at the Space Center there. And yeah, that's the story why that is repeated there. So anyone got any other questions for Don Thomas here? Let's look at a little bit of Valentine's here. I can't think of a whole lot to ask you. You're, I say this all the time. You don't have to do this, the outreach that you do. Some astronauts do, some don't, some do a little bit. We're witnessing some of the older ones saying, I've done enough, in there. So what does it mean to you to be out there and getting the kind of...
I still enjoy it. When I was a young boy, the Apollo astronauts weren't approachable. I couldn't get near them. It was Tom Stafford and Gene Cernan came to Cleveland, Ohio after Apollo 10.
Oh, really?
And they had a ceremony for him in downtown Cleveland in a parade. And I went down there for that, but it's like I wanted to get their autograph. I wanted to shake their hand, but I couldn't get anywhere near them. And I always thought, if I become an astronaut, I want to be approachable. I want somebody to come up to me and shake my hand. And so I want to be out there because I know what that's like as a young boy, seeing my heroes, the early Apollo astronauts there. And I just hope that, some kid comes up, I want to be there, shake his hand and answer the questions, sign an autograph. I'll do that anytime.
Don, you're one of 620 human beings who left the Earth, orbited it, and come back. There's 620. And, we're baby boomers. That seems like a low number to me compared to when Apollo 16 and 17 were landing and we thought, oh, we'll be back soon. And doesn't it seem like a low number to you?
It seems like a low number. It's still a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think about today, we have more NFL players playing in any one season than we've had all the astronauts going up from all the countries since 1961.
That's a good way to look at it. But do you have a sense of responsibility? For so many people, Don, you're going to be the only astronaut they ever met.
Right. So I want to leave them with that good impression. And I want to inspire them. I got inspired to be an astronaut when I was 6 years old. I watched Alan Shepard launch from Cape Canaveral here. I was in kindergarten and watched it in my gymnasium at school. And that was the moment I said, I want to do that. That was the inspirational moment for me.
Huh.
And maybe for these young kids today, that inspirational moment might be meeting me, seeing the shuttle Atlantis, learning about the next Artemis mission,
Mhm.
whatever that is, whatever we can do to inspire, excite and inspire the young kids. I want to be a part of that. So my
Well-
dream would be maybe 20, 25 years from now, I get a call and the person says, hey, I just got back from Mars. And 20 years ago, you came to my middle school, high school.
Oh, wow.
And I just want to thank you for that. That's when I drop the mic and say, okay, I'm done.
I'm
You
done.
know, it just takes that one connection, one inspiration, and all of this effort that we put into outreach, it'll be worth it.
Well, I'm sure you have made that there. And Marty, you got a question?
No, just two comments. With Don being in kindergarten during Apollo 11, I really feel old now.
Apollo 11, I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Alan Shepard's flight.
And Bill
Alex
Whiting,
Chip.
yeah, I don't know if you remember, I probably don't, Don, but Bill Whiting and I were at the Space Center one particular day, and you were sitting outside the gift shop, and we walked by and
Yep.
said hello, and he have anything for us to sign? Anything you want me to sign? And yes, so he does do what he says. That is great.
I try to be the last person leaving an event to make sure there's nobody there with unanswered questions or last things to sign. The
awesome.
only time I have to get out of there is if I have an airplane flight, but
Mhm.
otherwise I'll hang out, because I think it's really important. That's what I would have wanted when I was a little kid, approaching an astronaut. So I try to live up to that.
Okay, we've got another question, Marty.
Yeah, Michael Bruno is asking, have you been following the Starship closely? They seem to be having worse
Time.
yeah, problems than the shuttle, or worse, tiles.
Yeah, they've launched a number of times from Starbase in Texas there, and shortly after each of those missions, you can find many tiles for sale up on eBay, and we talk about he's working. Elon Musk and SpaceX is working on fixing the problems and everything, and they'll do that. One of the most concerning things to me is like, wow, there's a lot of tiles just falling off. They find them right at the beach at Corpus Christi there. This last one exploded over the Turks and Caicos Islands, and so tiles have come down
Yeah.
there that they're collecting. But I have every confidence they'll fix this. But right now, they're not talking about all these tiles falling off, but I see that and I think, man, that's a problem if you're an astronaut.
Yeah, good question there. And Elena in South Africa is saying maybe Don Thomas remembers something funny, some funny moments of life on the space shuttle. She thinks you were on the station. He was not on the International Space Station. He was before that. You were in the middle of of what I call three distinct eras of the shuttle. The first 25, then the middle where you're doing science in the payload bay that's now being done on the International Space Station.
Right. So
Funny moments.
people ask like some of the practical jokes we do in space, and I always say, we don't do that. You would never go up to somebody and go boo to scare them, because you don't want to get that reaction.
Okay.
So I don't have a lot of responses to that. I'll tell you one thing that I think is a little funny. You might find it funny here, Mark. In the astronaut office, we used to have more astronauts from Ohio and a lot from Cleveland than any other place.
Mhm.
So they were building a new building down at the Johnson Space Center, a new astronaut building. It was Building 4 South, I think it was called. And when they were building that, we went to them and said, we'd like to have a Cleveland Cultural Committee room for all the Cleveland astronauts that we can hang out there. And maybe have the Cleveland newspapers, and we'll talk Cleveland Browns and Cleveland Guardians now,
Yeah.
And so we requested that. They didn't quite fulfill the mission. When they built the building on the 4th floor, we had the astronaut offices, and in the men's room on the 4th floor, one of the stalls, they put a little plaque on the door. It said Cleveland Cultural Committee Room. And that was kind of funny. And then on, I think I might have been my second flight on the on the Discovery flight, the Woodpecker flight, one of the astronaut support person, they put inside the toilet of the shuttle, they had a little sign. It just said Cleveland Cultural Committee Room. And this is not an insult to Cleveland or
No,
Ohio or
of
anything.
course not.
But it was just a little joke that we had going there. We asked for a whole room to talk about Cleveland, but we only got one stall in the men's room.
I learned, speaking of stalls in the men room, down at University of Tennessee, we're going to see Jack Schmidt talk down there at the geology department. And so I go in the men's room, and he pulls up beside the urinal beside me. And I said, well, I'll definitely wash my hands twice, sir, before we shake him outside. And outside he said, my commander, Cernan, told me never to pass a bathroom.
Yeah, I think that's good advice.
He goes, yeah.
Never pass an
When you're an
opportunity,
astronaut,
'cause you
someone's
never know.
always want to talk to you there. So he goes, never pass a bathroom here. So, well, we're enjoying a great conversation with Don Thomas. Thank you for taking time to do this with us today. He's out here on his own, not part of the astronaut encounter that Carlton Bay was wondering if he missed you, though you do come out there
He
and
did
give
the
your
astronaut
talk,
fly with,
which
fly with
he
an
was with the
astronaut
fly with the
today.
astronaut.
This weekend I'm doing that.
How accurate is the astronaut experience? That
Shuttle
we've
launch
all been in?
experience.
Shuttle launch experience.
You know, it's pretty good. You're laying on your back. You get a lot of shaking, which is pretty good. The noise is good. The one thing that's missing that I always say is the fear factor.
Oh,
I'm never afraid riding
Yeah.
on the shuttle launch experience. Not once, not even a little bit. But on the real shuttle, real launch days, there was a little piece of me that was a little afraid that this thing could blow up.
well,
But otherwise, it's a good simulation.
maybe like John Young once said, if you're not a little afraid, you don't understand the situation you're in.
Exactly right. You know,
in there.
I think anybody who says they're not afraid, they're either lying or they're crazy.
How about the launch? Thinking about craziness, strapping in and going up to space on 6 million pounds of thrust. How many times were you up in the fore in the cabin, and how many times were you in the bottom?
I was on the flight deck one time for launch and 3 times on the mid deck. And then for the landing, twice I was up on the flight deck.
So you got a taste of both.
I got a taste of both. And it's a totally different
I wanted to ask you in the bottom, in the mid deck, where you don't have any window. You got that one little window in the door, I guess, right?
but you can't see out there.
Yeah. So you just don't know what's going on. You don't see any
So
data or anything.
Some people, I got assigned and they said, where are you sitting? I said, I'm down in the mid deck. And they would say, oh, I'm so sorry.
Huh.
Oh, down there, no window. It's a totally different experience.
Well, explain it to us.
Downstairs, that's where I first launched. I couldn't see anything. Right in front of my face, a foot and a half away, are lockers with equipment in there. So I'm just staring at lockers. And you couldn't see anything visual, but my other senses were keenly tuned. You asked me about the vibrations, the shaking. I can tell you about that. I could feel the whole shuttle shift as we did the gimbal check. You know, it's
Oh, really?
I
During
mean, it
gimbal
was- yeah,
shift, you
I
feel
could
it.
feel that. When I sat upstairs, I'm looking out the window, and if you asked me, hey, was it loud? I don't know. How about the vibration? I don't know. It's visual overload up there. So it's a totally different
Oh,
experience
interesting. Huh.
launching up there or down in the mid deck.
Hmm.
And I don't know, like, if is one better than the other? I prefer the window always, but I enjoy downstairs, just the sensation of it. It's totally different experience.
So how was re-entry? Looking out the windows.
Re-entry.
Or are you too busy with the
No.
checklist?
You know, I had time to look out the window there. You know, we're all looking out as we're coming in. STS-83, we had like a daytime re-entry, and I could get just a hint of the plasma glow, the pink glow out there. It wasn't very impressive at all. STS-94 then, you know, 3 months later, it had a nighttime re-entry. And then it was full show of the plasma out there. The front cockpit windows, it's just pink, orange, red glowing out there. There was one of the overhead windows of the shuttle right above my seat. And with my helmet on, I'm not able to turn around and look out that window, but I had a mirror on my knee and I use it like a rear view mirror. So I could look at my knee and look out that window.
Oh, man.
And as we have the plasma forming, I'd see flames that would form 15 or 20 feet long, peel off. A new one would form, dance around and peel off. And I'm sitting there, and like 4 feet above my head, it's 3,000 degrees.
My gosh.
But I always felt safe and secure, my little spacesuit all tucked in. And it was never a scary time. We looked out the windows at what was going on just with awe. Like, wow, look at that. Look at that plasma. Look at the color. The flashes from these flames that were like peeling off. It looked like flashes going off in the cockpit. And that was just from these flames from that. So it was just awesome to see that. And I'm glad I got a good nighttime re-entry to really experience that.
Quite a difference, daytime and nighttime.
Daytime,
like you
nighttime.
said.
Daytime, I'd always heard of the plasma and the red glow out there, and it's like I could barely see that.
And is it noisy? Do you hear the reaction control thrusters have a loud boom to them? Do
It's
they?
really quiet coming in.
Oh,
We're not
is it?
firing engines.
Okay.
Almost nothing coming in.
Okay.
We're just falling coming in. So it's fairly quiet compared to launch. No shaking. There's a little bit of turbulence every now and then, but I've been on rougher commercial flights by far, so it's very smooth coming in overall. Just quiet time, and you're listening to the commander and the pilot, going through the checklist. If I was sitting downstairs, I could follow what's
So
going
83
on.
was during day, but 94
was a nighttime.
night there, but you had the same
plasma.
crew so
Same
forth
crew.
in there. So you really didn't get a deja vu probably because of the time difference.
Yeah, no, nothing like that.
Yeah, in there. All right. Well, we're enjoying this conversation with Don, taking a lot of time with us. Tell you what, I'm going to flip through our little Valentine's here, Don, since it's Valentine's Day, and we wish everybody having a fun Valentine's. You have me floating in space for you, Valentine. I love the old school ones that we grew up with in there, but there's a lot of things in space, and NASA promotes Valentine's with things in space. This is the Heart Nebula, they call it. This is the Soul and Heart Nebula that's in the constellation Cassiopeia. It's out there tonight. Cute little
On top of the world
to be on top of the world if you be my Valentine.
with a dog there.
Yeah, a
like
dog
it.
there. A lot of hearts in our solar system. You're a scientist. I know you keep up with all the solar system stuff. These are heart-shaped craters and structures
Impact
on
craters.
Mars
Sure.
up there. That's actually a cave above my head there. I think there's roly-polies and things living in caves in Mars. I really do. I think you got the Necklace Nebula. If you're given a good gift,
Diamonds. Huh?
diamonds there. Yeah, it could be diamonds
Hope
too.
my wife isn't watching this.
Yeah, a diamond necklace in space for you, honey. And Pluto. I know you probably, like me, were excited to see Pluto. We grew up with Pluto as a planet. I met Clyde Tombaugh several times. Did you ever meet him?
I never got to meet
He
him.
kind of did a tour in his later years and signed a poster and everything. And but that is called the Tombaugh region. And what we're looking at is basically a globe of nitrogen frozen like a slushy at 350 below zero. And this is what's odd about this is you don't see craters. The surface has been replenished.
Yeah.
In a short geologic term, but it's nevertheless a beautiful heart. How about Valentina?
There you go. There you
Okay,
go.
got to celebrate her. Did you ever meet her?
I did meet her.
Did you
I
really?
lived in Star City for
Oh, that's
a total
right.
of 2 years, and was
We
in
didn't
one of
talk
the,
about that. He
the,
was the NASA
cosmonaut-
rep at Star City during
Yeah, I was a director of operations, a DOR we called them in Star City, and I got to meet her. There was many functions, celebrations, and
So what was
got to
she
meet her.
like?
She was just very nice. My Russian wasn't so great that we could sit down and have a deep conversation, but it was just such an honor for me to meet her. This was in like 1999 or
Yeah,
so.
she's great. She's something. We got what else we got going there? I put up there. Oh, you gotta give a ring. You gotta get your wife a new ring there, Terry White. The Ring Nebula, which I've seen in my backyard since I was a little boy. That's easy to find in the summertime. Venus is the brightest star in the west right now, and you're my brightest planet in the sky. These are promotions that NASA put out to promote Venus as seen from the International Space Station.
Yep.
I know a question I was asking Marty. No, you weren't on the International Space Station, but were you up while the moon was on a full phase? I'm wondering if the Earth looked, if you could see more detail when the moon was.
You can't see it, but you see the reflection of it at nighttime.
But you don't see like going over Paris at night. You see a little more of the ground or something, or over wherever.
Because of a full moon?
Because of moonlight.
I mean, no, I mean, I don't think you could get that much detail, but over the water, you know, you had that reflection and can see more.
A heart shaped on Mars again. Pluto and Charon, its rather large moon, exchange material. You matter to me. And see, Charon has on top a little brown that they think comes from Pluto in some sort of a scientific chemistry experiment. Showering you with love with our meteors here.
Nice. I saw shooting stars from space was incredible.
Was it?
I was looking out the window on my first flight. It was nighttime, and we're passing over city lights, and I saw a little zip of light go by really quick. And at first it's like, what was that? What did I just see? And then it dawned on me, that was a shooting star. We're up above them. Here on Earth, when you want to see a shooting star, you look up at the stars.
That's right.
When you're in space, you got to look down because they're burning up, coming in the atmosphere 30 or 40 miles up.
How about the phenomenon, Don, of cosmic rays in your eyes when you're sleeping? Did you experience that?
I saw that on all my missions. NASA never mentioned that to us in any of our training, but I read, I think it was Buzz Aldrin's book, Return to Earth, and he talks about when they were flying back from the moon, having some of the flashes in his eyes. So I'm just going to sleep, you know, and I saw a bright flash, and I recognized right away. At first, it's like, what is that? And it's one of those cosmic rays, you know, hitting your optic nerve. And sometimes I saw like a bright flash, like a flash bulb going off right in front of my face. Sometimes I saw it cutting from one eyeball to another, just cutting right through a flash like that.
From one eyeball to the other?
Just
that would be, wow.
Really weird stuff.
I've never heard anybody talk about that, Marty. Have you? That's
So when I go camping, before I go to bed at night, get in the tent, you know, I like to lay on a picnic table at the campsite, and I always want to see one more great shooting star.
Yeah.
Before I would fall asleep on the space shuttle, I always wanted to see one more great flash in my eyes. And it can't be good. These are cosmic rays hitting your eyeball, penetrating. It can't be good for you, but it was always interesting. So I try to lie awake and get one more good one.
Well, you have 45 days in space, and you look at the cumulative time of some people, like Sonny Williams, you know, is getting up there now, 500 days or 550 days up there. Let's look at a couple other cute little reminiscent here with my baby boomer astronaut friend Don Thomas. So thankful that you stopped in today. I get a charge out of you. Be my Valentine. All right. And there's a Jupiter will dance with you, and it's 4 Gallian moons there. These are NASA Valentines. You light up my life, as we hope the sun continues to do over and over. You and I have some real cool chemistry, and that's the moon Titan that has liquid rivers and lakes of methane flowing on it. And we're going to go there and check out with a robot what's going on with that. And of course, 900-degree Venus would melt anything, including your heart on there. And so inspiring you all to get out, be inspired by Don Thomas and his stories today, to get out. The romance I love talking about, the stars, the songs, the movies, the prose written about it. That's a photo I took, Don, out at the Big Bend area of Texas.
Beautiful. Great job
out there. And but have fun with the moon, have fun with love on romantic day here, Valentine's.
And I got asked a question today, my favorite music to take to space. And it's kind of appropriate here. It's Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, really?
Pink Floyd. If you ever go to space, to everybody who's listening,
really,
today,
okay,
take that along. You
All
will
right.
not be disappointed.
Well, I might play that over the weekend, just because you mentioned it, and I hadn't heard that in a while. So there we have lovers, the universe, the cosmos. You don't know what's out there, but the future would appear so fine if you would be my Valentine. And thanks for being our Valentine.
Hey, you're welcome. I had a lot of fun. Greetings to everybody, and I will see everybody at Shuttle Fest coming up.
Maybe another question or two, but if you've not signed up for Shuttle Fest and I still know Steve Jokums has. Steve, you'll meet. He's one of our Shuttle Fest donors up there. We think about having Eileen Collins, Joe Tanner, and John Grunsfeld sharing the marquee with you.
That's an outstanding group. Eileen and I were in the same astronaut class in 1990. We're
The
called
Hogs, right?
Hairballs.
Oh, the hairballs.
The hairballs.
Okay.
And so to see Eileen again, and Joe Tanner and John Grunsfeld were in the class after mine. So I knew Joe Tanner. He was a T-38 instructor pilot before he became an astronaut. So I used to fly with him in the jets, and I know John Grunsfeld really well. So it's a good group.
Well,
they got some great stories. And Eileen,
well, that's what we want you all to have fun. That's part of Shuttle Fest, is not just the guests that are going to be there, but the astronauts, seeing people they haven't seen in a while.
yeah,
We want to create that once a year venue for you all
yeah,
to do
it's
that.
fun.
So
It's fun for us to get together.
because y'all get a free physical, don't you, in October or something at Houston?
They'll fly us
or-
down to Houston around your birthday every year for a free physical. They do a great eye exam. They do great blood work. But I really go down there to get the Mexican food.
Oh,
I go
really?
to my favorite Mexican restaurant in Houston.
What's that
I live in
called?
Baltimore now, and people say, hey, do you know a good Mexican restaurant? And I said, yeah, I do. It's 1,800 miles away. And my favorite is called Don Key's.
Don Keys.
Spencer
okay.
Highway in Pasadena. It's about maybe 20 minutes from the Johnson Space Center. Great Mexican food. It's a hole in the wall place. And I don't think they would be insulted by me saying that, but it's the best food around.
Well, that's excellent. Good. Well, if you want to stick around, we'll find you some seafood or something to eat today, Don. We had we have USS LKA, a Navy man, says thank you, Don, for your service to our country. And we talked about Gary Gerald there, wanted to know what decks you were on your flights there. So thank you all for your questions today. Mark Usiak enjoyed it, and the little northern great flicker enjoyed it too there.
Watch out for the woodpeckers.
Watch out for the woodpecker. Don, thank you so much for
You're
being
very
a great
welcome.
sport and
Happy to be here
impromptu
today, and happy Valentine's
You
Day,
told us
everyone.
things that I know other people have never heard astronauts talk about, and we appreciate that.
And
So-
some of them are true.
some are
Some
true.
are that I told you
All
are
right,
true here today.
exactly. So everybody enjoy a great Valentine's. Hope this was a great surprise to warm your heart here. We want to stay curious today. Marty, anything to button up over there in our Streamlabs production?
Well, Gary Jarrell is asking, Don, were you seated on your flight deck or mid-deck on your flights? So, were you seated?
Was I seated?
Yeah.
Everybody was seated. When I sat down on the mid deck on STS-70, I was down on the mid deck by myself for the landing, and I helped strap in everybody up on the flight deck, make sure they're all seated, have waters and whatever they needed, and then well before we do the engine burn, I'm down in the mid deck, strapped into my seat. That's the way it's supposed to be. I've heard stories of some astronauts standing up, during the deorbit burn. I can't imagine that. So I tried my best to follow the rules and to do what's the safest.
4
safest thing to
missions
do,
in
and
3.5 years. I think I'd like to do it that way. Just kind of get through it on there. And was that enough for you? Nobody asked you, why did you retire? Did you want to fly more?
I was going to fly a 5th mission to the space station. I was on Expedition 6 with
Mhm.
Ken Bowersox and the prime crew. I trained 2 years for that, and then just 2 months before the scheduled launch, one of the NASA doctors up in Washington, D.C. pulled me for some stupid old medical reasons and said,
Oh,
oh, you can't do long duration. I could go up on another shuttle mission, but it's like I would go to the space station, I'd go to the moon or Mars, but to take that risk and do another shuttle mission, it's like, I think I had enough. So that's when I decided it was time for me to move on.
good. Thanks for asking that. We hope that you're out there. Maybe you'll tell somebody to watch Don Thomas next time he's available in your town. And maybe you'll be that person that went to Mars, and call him up 20 years from now and
Do
say
that.
thank you.
And come on down to Shuttle Fest.
That's right. Thank you, Don.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. And had a great week, folks. We'll have a lot of guests next week, including Terry White sitting in here. We'll figure out a day when Terry comes on and talks about the great shuttle era. Until then, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us. Thank you.